Hey, it's Aaron, and today we're in a 2023 Nissan Z. This is one of the cars I've been looking forward to a lot. This is the all-new Z, completely redone. 370Z is out. This will replace it. Some people are calling this a 400Z because not because that's the displacement, but because that is the horsepower rating. It is 400 horsepower. Wonderful car. Nissan did a fabulous job with this. I did an exterior review, walk around and stuff. I'll link to that down below. That has a lot more information on the design language and history of this car. For today, we're just doing our interior walkthrough. I'm just going to show you all the gauges, gadgets, buttons, and everything. I do have to give the one caveat that this is a pre-production model, so there could be slight changes between what is here and what's in the actual production models. But for the most part, really, this looks like a finished product. I very much doubt they're going to change a whole lot about it. So the first 240 of these are a special limited launch edition. They're only going to make 240. That's an homage to the original Fairlady, the Datsun 240. So after that there'll be, I think, two packages for this car. You can get a manual or automatic transmission. Doesn't change the price tag. This in particular, you will see, is a 6-speed manual. Only way I would buy this car. But the automatic has a couple extra gears and paddle shifting. So if you prefer that because maybe you're going to commute in this a lot or something like that, then that's totally available. Doesn't cost you any more. Speaking of cost, I got to do that right up front because it's phenomenal. This car, as we're sitting at right now, if I were to go and buy this today, $52,000. 52. That's it. You can't even get a wow, that's nuts. I've been in mid-level like Corollas that cost more than that. So okay, anyway, probably not, but you get what I'm saying. It's cheap. So we'll start in the usual spot and just walk through and look at what's going on in this car. So starting on the left, down here on the door, we see here's your windows, here's your window lock, your door locks. This is for your side mirrors. Up here, this is your door handle for getting in and out. One of the vents, these are the cool twirly kind that you can face however you want. And I just remembered I did not turn off the AC. So anyway, over here you have your squirrely button. So that turns off the traction control. And that's about it. There is a hood release way down there. And that's it. Over here, I'm going to do the dongles and then the steering wheel. I know that's not the usual, but that's what I'm going to do. So over here, you got lighting, signal turns up and down, that sort of stuff, back and forth for your brights. Over here, you have washer wipers. So you can see you set the aggressiveness and then up and down for each of these settings here. There is a version of this that has automatics, just FYI. Now looking at the steering wheel, which is, I can't quite get the whole thing in, but it's a cool steering wheel. I really like the feel of it. It's hard to put on camera, but it's just the right, it's kind of skinny, but not too skinny. It's just right to hold on to. It's great. Anyway, over here we have our infotainment controls. So you see volume is up here, these two buttons here on our kind of a rocker. Here is your OK button. This is actually mostly for driver information screen right here. So you have volume, driver info screen here. This moves and you can see like there's a back button and stuff. This changes tracks or stations. This opens up the menu, and that is the driver information menu. So you get used to using this really quickly because my hand is usually right here when I'm driving, right? I usually hold the wheel just about like that, and I can just reach down and volume control, which for me is almost everything I'm doing when I'm actually driving. I'm either skipping a track or I'm volume controlling, and I've gotten really good at just doing that with my hand. I might have to move placement down or something like that, but that's why I like these knurls. That's my hand placement right there, so I can just do this and go right back to it. Over here is the kind of cruise control and other stuff. So over here you just turn your cruise control on and off up here. Down here you set your following distance. Here's your set and reset right here on this rocker. Then you have your voice control, which is okay. It's still the old menu prompt, but you know. And then this button right here is your telematics. It runs your telephone stuff. Also, if you just get in the car and you don't have a phone connected and you push this, it will go through the setup process for that over there on the infotainment. Now, let's look at this gauge cluster. Gauge cluster. So this is the default screen, more or less. This is pretty much the way it is most of the time, and then you know you can change it a little bit and stuff with the menu system that I'll show you in a minute. So over here is your odometer. Here is your estimated range with the current amount of fuel. Here is the current amount of fuel. I didn't put a ton of miles on this. This is actually the third time I've driven this car, but it's the first time I've having it. First time I'm having it as a press loan for a full week. But I did not have a chance, because it's not a family car, I did not have a chance to put a whole ton of miles on it. But I did put enough to know that I like it. So anyway, over here, this is your driver information screen. So going through those, you push the menu button that I showed you, and then you can go through the menus back and forth, and up and down and so on. So if you want to see, like, this G-force screen is a useful one. This one, not so much, because there's a physical gauge for that that's added to this particular version of the car. But you could see, here's your, like, this basically is a little glowing thing, and it tells you when to shift, which is good if you need to work on that. That's a pretty cool thing. And I will say the shifting in this is extremely smooth, and it has rev matching going down, so makes all the shifts buttery, and everybody, no matter your skill level, you'll end up being good at shifting this car very quickly if you get the manual. This is a tachometer normally, and then over here would be where your speed is. So you have both kinds of tachometers if you're looking here. So you have the regular tach that you're used to seeing, the dial, but this up here it acts as one as well. As you gain RPM, it starts to move inward to that red. So that's the better visual indicator if you're performance driving. This is good for every day, because honestly, if you're aiming for like fuel economy, you want to keep this under 2,000, so you're just going to be shifting as much as possible. Over here is your engine oil temp and your water, so your coolant temp, and then you have some up in here. You'll have a couple of warnings, and then down there you'll have even more warnings. And I don't think there's anything over here. I think they're only over there. So that's the screen. There really isn't a whole lot else to show you. This is configurable. You actually do that through, I believe, the infotainment. Nope, I was wrong. You do it right here. So you can go down. This will change with your drive mode selection as well. So here's another one of the meter options. This is probably more standard if you're looking for a more like normal every day. So you have your speed over here, your tach over here, and then this is your kind of information area. And then you can, if I can get back to what I was doing, enhanced. Then you can see what that looks like. It just looks cool. It's not any more or less useful than any of the other screens. Actually, I find it less useful just because it's a lot more information here, but you lose the gauges. And in normal everyday driving, other than not having your speed really easy, although you do have the digital there, it's not as good. I haven't been as impressed. My favorite has been the one I started with, which is the sport one, which I like the dual tach, and I just like the setup here. It just works for me visually. So to each his own, put it wherever you want. Now, I talked about there were physical gauges. Hi, other camera. So over here you got your boost level, that's your PSI. Over here you've got your boost level in rotations, so that's your RPM on that turbo. And then over here you have your battery usage. This is kind of neat because you're gonna see the battery like fluctuate back and forth according to how you've been driving and what you've been doing. So if you are if you're using like a lot of climate stuff and everything else, but you've been really performance running, you'll see this move a little bit to the left. And then if you're doing the opposite, you'll see it move slightly to the right a little bit. But it's a good indicator of where you are. And honestly, I've been using it the most when I'm sitting with the windows open, waiting for one of my kids in a parking lot, and I just have the car off and I'm running the stereo and stuff, and you can see, you know, your usage up there. Now, couple events, and here is infotainment. So this is basically the home screen that takes you home on your nav, not for your screen, you know, right? So here's nav, right? It doesn't know where my house is, so it's looking for some place in Colorado. It's like Hotel Boulderado, which is funny because that's where I first drove this car, was at an event at the Hotel Boulderado. So that nobody's ever changed the home since then. Anyway, this is kind of the main screen. If you're familiar with Nissan, you're familiar with these screens. There is sort of hard buttons down here. They are virtual, but they go back and forth. These are on the majority of the screens you'd be looking at, so you can do all of the obvious stuff. Now in the settings section is where you're going to be able to make a few changes that you might want to make to things like your like if you'd rather have a male voice instead of a female. If you want to connect a phone, you do that here, and things like that. You can customize a couple of things, including that home menu right here. You can change what's on this screen here. Then down here, this is the menu screen that ends up there, right? And I should show you there are a couple of side scroll menus, and you can set any of those as your main if you want. So here's the menu screen for getting to that. This quickly goes to the map. This turns on the rear camera. That's the only camera on this particular model. This goes to day and night mode. You can physically do it. Otherwise, it just runs up based on the headlight usage. This is tracks back and forth, which is cool because you also have a physical volume button and a physical scroll button for moving through channels or songs. That honestly will save you from looking away from the road more than anything else, is having those two, probably three button options in your car as physical options. Now down here, here's the climate. This is how you turn it on and off mostly, but you can set settings for the fan right there. This is temperature setting. Pretty old school styling for that. You know, you guess a temperature on here. So if you're wanting the car to be, you know, if you're wanting to keep it at like say 78 degrees, yeah, good luck. Because you know there's no indication of that. Over here is where you want to put it, so that's where you want the air to be. I just been leaving it on auto. Down below that you can, whoops, there's my fingers. Down below that you can see these USBs. There's a C and an A. This is a good spot for your phone. You just drop it in there and there you go. You can fit a few other things in here too. You can even stand your phone up like this if you're not accelerating too much to knock it over. Over here is your drive modes. So you can put it into sport mode. Honestly, I saw no difference other than what the screen does. It changes the screen, that's it. Here is the stop start button, and here is the shifter. So shifting's pretty straightforward. It's a double H pattern. I hope you can see that. Double H pattern. And then to get into reverse, this is the one that most people screw up. You don't pull anything or whatever. You push the knob down and move it over. Now it's in reverse. You can see the backup camera came on. Otherwise, if you just go over there like that, you're actually in 6th gear, even though that's not really where 6th gear is. So just kind of an FYI. A lot of people will screw that up. I did the very first time I got in. Over here, you got a drink holder. You see my coffee in there. Here's your seat heating right here. This opens the back hatch. and handbrake. You. This is a rear-wheel drive car, so over here is a little storage cubby, decent size, not huge, not tiny, but small. So useful there, though. I believe there's a 12 volt in there. Yep, I felt it. There's a 12 volt down in there. Then you got the rest of the interior. So I really like the dash. It's simple. They didn't do anything complicated. They didn't go nuts. You can get changes in things like the stitching, different colors. This blue stitching is to match the blue exterior. But if you get like a yellow one, you can change the stitching to go with that. There's beautiful seating. I love this seating. It's so comfy. Really nicely done. It's a good combination of bolstering and comfort. So nicely done on the seat. This is sort of like a faux suede down here, so it keeps your butt in place. You don't move around a lot. And then the I'm assuming faux leather. I don't think it's real leather. And then the floor down there, you can see it. There's a little bit of storage behind the seat. The seats do adjust, so you can move them around. This is actually a pull-out. That's where your owner's manual and stuff are, instead of being up in there. And then the back, let me change my grip. And then in the back, you can see the storage back there. I'll show you a picture of the back hatch with some stuff in it. I did a snack run over at Sam's Club and Walmart, and yeah. And then because I can, screw it, here's a picture of the engine. Yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about this car. A lot of fun to drive, really smooth. This is a driver's car, a sports car. This is not a go to the track and dominate on the quarter miles or anything. It's not what this car is for. This car is for the enjoyment of driving and having the ability to carve corners, move through the public roads, right? Driving on regular roads, and just make everyday driving a good time. It feels really good. Cars that are similar to this in terms of their theme would be like the Mazda Miata, best-selling sports car on the planet, and like the BMW Z4, and the Toyota GR that's based on that, the Supra. So all of those are kind of in the same vein. The difference being that outside of the Miata, those other two are much more expensive. This is right now a coupe only, but I very much suspect there's going to be a Targa or some sort of roadster Targa or convertible version of this coming sometime in the next couple of years. So if you can hold on, because that's what you want, sometime in the next couple of years you'll see one of these. The other thing is just the feel of this car. You know, for $52,000, you're getting a phenomenal vehicle. That's just great. So much fun. Especially as a daily driver. This is like the best daily driver I can think of right here. So yeah, that's what I got. This has been the 2023 Nissan Z. Probably the best car to come out so far for 2023, and one of my top 3 drives this year, honestly. I have maybe 3 cars that I can think of that I drove this year that were phenomenal, and this is definitely one of those 3. So yeah, really good job from Nissan. Kudos to them for pulling this off. This is a great halo car for that company. It's not, yeah, I gotta stop talking. I'll sit here all morning until the camera runs dead, just talking about how great this car is. So yeah, I'm just gonna quit. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon. Subscribe.